This is Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate, the podcast where we cover home buying, home selling, home improvement tips and ideas, market trends and developments, and investing in real estate. If you own real estate in the Chattanooga, Tennessee area, or want to own real estate here, then you're in the right place. Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate is hosted by Blake Watson, a real estate agent and investor in Tennessee and Georgia.
Welcome back to Let's Talk Chattanooga Real Estate. I'm Blake Watson with Epique Realty, and I am glad to have you with me today. If you've owned a home in the Chattanooga area for any length of time at all, then there's a good chance that you've received a postcard, a letter, probably a text, or even a phone call that says something like, "We want to buy your house for cash," or maybe "Get a guaranteed cash offer with no repairs, no hassle, we'll close quickly." For some homeowners, now that immediately raises a red flag when they receive something like that. For others, it sparks curiosity. And for many, especially those that are dealing with a life change, it sounds like a potential solution. Now, this very issue came up this week as I was speaking with a homeowner. The homeowner had discussed a cash offer with one of these companies, and they decided it wasn't what they expected. The cash offer came with requirements of significant fees and repair costs that the company worked into the offer, and then the homeowner was going to be required to pay those things. So they decided it wasn't for them. But today, I want to walk through what those cash offer companies actually are, how they work, and how they compare to another type of company that would be a wholesaler, and how all of that stacks up against selling your home the traditional way through the MLS with a realtor. My goal here is not to tell you that one option is right and another is wrong, but to help you understand the differences so you can make the best decision for your situation. Let's start with cash offer companies. Sometimes they're called direct buyers or iBuyers. These are companies that advertise their ability to purchase homes quickly, often with their own funds or institutional backing. Now, some of them are larger companies or even franchises like We Buy Ugly Houses. But there are plenty of regional and local investors that operate under this same basic model. So it very well may be someone that's local or just in East Tennessee in this region. Typically, these companies start by gathering information about your property from public records and online data and whatever details that you may provide. And a lot of times, you'll get a postcard in the mail that has a photograph of your home right there on the postcard. Typically, they're getting that photograph through Google Maps and the Street View option where you can actually see the front of houses. So understand that it doesn't necessarily mean that they have come by your house and taken a photograph of your house. Based on that public information, they will give you an initial offer range. And if you want to move forward, they'll usually conduct a walkthrough either virtually or in person, and they'll assess your home's condition. And after that, they'll present you a final cash offer. The big appeal here, of course, is speed and convenience. These companies often promise a fast closing, sometimes in as little as a few weeks. They usually buy homes as is, meaning you don't need to make repairs, paint walls, replace flooring, worry about inspections. A lot of times there's things you just want to leave behind in the house, and they're okay with that. There are no showings, there's no open houses, no traditional financing contingencies. For sellers who value certainty and simplicity, this can be very attractive to do the cash offer. However, there is a trade-off. Cash offer companies are not paying retail market value in almost every case. They are in business. That's why they're making the cash offers, because they're in business to make money. And the way they're going to do that is through ultimately reselling your property or possibly renting it or some other exit plan. They often flip houses, and understand that's just their business model. And if it fits for you and you need that cash offer or want that as your solution as opposed to the full value of your home, then by all means, that works. Their offers typically account for repair costs, holding costs, transaction fees, and, of course, their profit margin. They are in business. Even if a home is in good condition, the offer is usually discounted compared to what the property might bring on the open market. Some sellers are comfortable with that trade-off, especially if time or privacy or convenience is their top priority. Now let's talk about wholesalers. This is another type of person that you might encounter that there is often some confusion about what they actually do. Wholesalers are not the same as cash buyers, even though their marketing sometimes suggests otherwise. In most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, a wholesaler does not actually intend to buy your home themselves. Instead, they put your property under contract at a certain price, and then they attempt to assign that contract to another investor for a higher price. And their profit is the difference between what they've contracted with you to buy your house and what the end buyer pays. Now, for a wholesaler, just to give you an idea of how this might work, let's say your home, after repairs, after it's been fixed up and it's at full retail value, it's worth $150,000. And they offer you $80,000. And then they're going to turn around and try to find a buyer, a cash buyer, that may pay $90,000 or $95,000 or $100,000. And the amount between what they sell it for to this other person and what they've contracted with you for will be their profit. So maybe there's $10,000, $15,000 or more in profit for them as a wholesaler. From a seller's perspective, the experience may initially feel very similar to a regular cash offer. The wholesaler may promise a quick sale, no repairs, a cash closing. The difference is what happens behind the scenes. Because the wholesaler needs to find another buyer, the deal can be less certain. If they can't assign the contract, they don't find another buyer, they may try to renegotiate the price with you, they may delay the closing, or cancel the contract altogether. Now, this does not mean that wholesaling is inherently bad, but it does mean that sellers need to understand that not all cash offers are created equally. In many cases, wholesalers target distressed properties or sellers who are highly motivated. These might include homes with major deferred maintenance, inherited properties, vacant homes, or situations that are involving financial distress. The offers are often lower than what even a direct cash buyer might offer because there's another layer of profit built in for the wholesaler and the end investor. Now let's shift to the traditional retail sale. That's listing your home on the MLS with a realtor, goes on all the websites. There's a sign in the yard. You've got photographs that are published and put out on the internet. Listing your home is still the most common way that homes are sold in the Chattanooga market, and for good reason. When a home is listed on the MLS, it's exposed to the widest possible pool of buyers. That includes not only investors, but owner-occupants using conventional FHA or VA financing, or perhaps an owner-occupant who is still going to offer cash. Your home is exposed to a lot more potential buyers, which means more competition, and more competition often leads to a higher sale price. That's a very important element of the realtor advantage when working with a realtor to sell your home, that it is broadly marketed to the largest potential pool of buyers. A retail listing typically makes the most sense for homes that are in good condition, or at least they're in livable condition. Someone can move in. Maybe if there's rooms or parts of the home that need to be renovated or just updated, someone can still move in and live there and do some work on it after they're living there. So it doesn't mean that everything has to be perfect for a retail sale, but the home should be something the average buyer can reasonably finance and move into. In these cases, sellers are often able to net more money even after accounting for repairs, staging, and realtor commissions. The trade-off with a retail sale is time and effort. Preparing a home for the market may involve repairs, decluttering, cleaning, possibly staging. There will certainly be showings and inspections. The buyer may request repairs or possibly some concessions. And then, of course, financing with appraisals can introduce some uncertainty, and closings often take 30 to 45 days or longer. For many sellers, that's perfectly acceptable. For others, it's a deal breaker. So how does a seller decide which path makes the most sense? Well, it really comes down to the property, the seller's priorities, and their timeline. If a home needs significant repairs, things like a failing roof, foundation issues, outdated electrical or plumbing, or extensive water damage, or maybe it's even had a fire, well, a cash offer may be the most practical option. In those cases, many retail buyers simply can't or won't take on that level of work, especially if they're using financing. And the majority of homes sold in America, and certainly here in the Chattanooga area, are financed. There's a bank loan involved. If a seller is facing a major life transition, a job relocation, divorce, estate settlement, or health issue, well, speed and certainty may matter more than squeezing out every last dollar through a retail sale. A cash offer can provide relief and clarity during a stressful time. On the other hand, if the home is in good shape and the seller isn't in a rush, listing on the MLS is often the best way to maximize the value. So even in a changing market, properly priced and well-presented homes in the Chattanooga area continue to attract strong buyer interest. Many sellers are surprised by how competitive the process can still be when a home is marketed correctly. Doesn't mean there's always going to be a bidding war or multiple offers, but you may be surprised. When a home is priced right and it's a well-presented home, then it is desirable when it's marketed correctly. And this is where my role as a realtor really comes into play. I don't believe in one-size-fits-all solutions. Some sellers assume that if they call a realtor, the only option they'll hear about is listing the home on the MLS. Well, that's not how I operate. In many cases, I can help a seller explore multiple options side by side. That might include getting a legitimate cash offer from a reputable buyer and comparing the projected net proceeds from a retail sale on the MLS. I even offer a mix of the two, where I will work to get you one or more cash offers at the same time as marketing the property for full retail through the MLS. So when you lay those options out clearly, including the price, timeline, risk, and the effort involved, the right choice often becomes very obvious. Sometimes the cash offer makes the most sense, sometimes the retail listing is the clear winner, and sometimes the answer changes once a seller understands the full picture. The most important thing is that homeowners make informed decisions, not rushed decisions. Those postcards and letters are designed to create some urgency, but selling a home is one of the biggest financial decisions that most people are ever going to make, so it deserves careful consideration. If you're in the Chattanooga or North Georgia area and you're considering selling your home, whether you've received a cash offer or you're just starting to think about your options, I'm happy to have that conversation. There's no pressure, no obligation, just good information so you can choose the path that fits your goals. And that's what this podcast is all about, helping you make smart real estate decisions with clarity and confidence. You can contact me, Blake Watson, with Epique Realty by phone or text at 423-315-1815. You'll find me on Facebook and LinkedIn as Blake Watson and on Instagram as Rock and Roll Blake. You can also connect through my website, athomechattanooga.com. That's athomechattanooga.com. My brokerage office phone is 888-893-3537. Until next time, I wish you all the best on your real estate journey.